Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenard. Today we have Wendy Miller, one of our preferred partners with Real Producers. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're pumped to have you. So let's tell a little bit about you. Wendy began her career in Southwest Florida as an administrator for Coldwell Banker before becoming a licensed assistant and ultimately working with both buyers and sellers. In 2016, she began working remotely with a large real estate team as a virtual transaction coordinator, handling the due diligence of new listings and sales from negotiation all the way to closing. She's a pioneer in the virtual real estate assistant industry. Wendy is currently licensed in Florida, New York, and is actively pursuing licensing in all of the reciprocating states. She has boots on the ground in Florida, New York, California, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and already with more being added. Wendy has a network of vendors as well as in affiliates through relationships she's cultivated over the years and providing a full range of services for her clients. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, I mean, that was a lot of information.
It was.
But who's Wendy Miller? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
You know, if we get to the point where I know that, I'll finally feel like an adult.
You and me both.
Right? So, in a nutshell, that is my real estate career. You know, I was born and raised in a small town in western New York, just south of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And at the ripe old age of 18, I followed a guy to Florida and got a part-time job at Arvida, which doesn't exist anymore.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have. Coldwell Banker bought Arvida out in the early 2000s. Okay. And when that happened, that's when I got my license, went to work for a husband and wife team. And fast forward, 15, 18 years, I'm doing pretty much everything a realtor does except sell for a large team. Mm-hmm. And, there were, I think, 15 or so agents on that team. And because of their size, I would interact with a lot of other agents, on the cooperating side.
Right.
And they would always say, oh, if you ever leave, give me your number.
Yeah, right.
Or, hey, can you help me with this? I don't want you to come work for me. It's, I'm not trying to poach you. But
yeah.
So, that happened enough times where I realized, I'm limiting my growth by staying static with this team. Mm-hmm. So I left, got my broker's license, opened my own brokerage, hired other like-minded individuals to help me. And now, I do what I do for any agent at any brokerage who needs the help.
Gotcha.
And I found, because of my small town upbringing, I wasn't raised in the South. Mm-hmm. I've got a little bit more of a work ethic than some of the other virtual transaction coordinators that started maybe in Alabama or even on the other coast. Mm-hmm. My phone rings, I answer it. Mm-hmm. I respond to emails. I show up to appointments on time, usually early. Mm-hmm. So, I think that, you've got the small town girl in a big city. Yeah. And I just like to help.
Right.
That's my thing. I don't want to sell. I don't need to see my name in lights. Mm-hmm. In fact, on my signature line for any of the agents that I support, I don't care what I'm called.
Right.
I'm an assistant. I'm a licensed assistant. I'm a personal assistant, transaction coordinator. I mean, you name it.
Right. I'm Wendy. Doesn't even matter what you put in front of it.
Really. I mean, there's my name. There's my picture. Right. And my goal is support.
Right.
And I'm like that, with my friends, my family at home. I'm a helper.
Yeah.
So
tell me a little bit, and obviously when you say you opened a brokerage, right, explain that process, right? Because when people are like, oh, you're a broker, you're a brokerage, you must buy and sell tons of, help, buy and sell tons of property. So how does that work?
Yeah, so I am asked that, obviously, quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that if I was a realtor, I would work with me if I competed against the agents I was supporting.
Right.
But obviously, in order to do what I do, to speak with customers about their contracts, to negotiate, to do things on behalf of the agents that I work for, I have to be licensed.
Right.
Obviously, the broker's license is the top tier in real estate. And because the agents that I support do count on me to, know the laws, know the changes, know the contracts. And a lot of times they'll ask me a broker question before they ask their broker. I'm more accessible than these brokers are.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Some of them do reply. But, when you throw me into a group text and you've got a question that needs to be answered right away, I've got the license behind me and the knowledge where I can answer that. We don't have to run it up the chain of command, some of these larger brokerages and wait for a reply.
It's just like, title, when they have the attorney questions, there's an attorney on staff, they can ask it, and it's just a quicker response, more efficient. So, yeah, that's obviously... some of these realtors, they get a little bit bent out of shape when they hear someone else is a realtor, right? They get threatened, right? And hearing that you're a broker, they might be like, whoa, like, are you trying to poach me to your brokerage? They might fear or automatically assume a negative, but it's really just a positive.
Yeah, it's absolutely a positive. And you can also, the benefit of MLS, you can look up the office, you can look up the agents who are licensed under me and see that nobody does business. I think I've had one sale in the last 10 years, and that was a personal friend. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You can look us up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys aren't slinging deals on left and right on the sides trying to hide it, right?
No.
MLS is very transparent. So, well, tell us about why are you so passionate about what you do?
So when I opened my brokerage, when I left the large team and went on my own, that was one of the questions that I asked myself. Because throughout my real estate career, I have been trying to leave real estate. I just never looked at it as a career. But every time I left, I found myself being drawn back into it. I'm very good at this. Not a great salesperson, but I am a fantastic admin. I really like helping people. I get so many texts, phone calls, emails. Wow, whoever the agent is, Nick, you and Wendy are fantastic. This was the best transaction I've ever had, and that makes me feel good. Because real estate, it doesn't have to be hard, but you need to know what you're doing. And, I know what I'm good at. Selling isn't it. A lot of the realtors that I support, selling is it. They need to be out shaking hands and kissing babies and then letting me do the paperwork and getting us closed. And that, that feels good when people are like, wow.
Right. It goes back to sticking in your lane, and finding, what you're good at and outsourcing and hiring, right? A lot of business podcasts I enjoy listening to. And the first thing people say is like, find people good at what you need to be filled, right? The spot you need to be filled. And you're totally right. Don't tell all the realtors, but they sometimes don't respond. They suck at certain things, and they might be the first ones to admit it too, but like they need help in certain things. So it's great that you're able to fill that spot.
A lot of times I find it's control, some of the realtors, especially seasoned agents who don't have assistants or who aren't open to a virtual assistant metric, they want complete control over their transaction. It's hard for them to trust and let go of certain things, but it usually only takes one, and then they're sold. I'm highly organized, super efficient, and I don't like mistakes. And I definitely don't want to screw up and make me look bad and make the agent look bad.
Right.
So, a lot of times if they could just relinquish a little bit of control and let me do my job, it frees them up to do their job, and it makes everything work better.
I do want to go more into that, but can you explain? I mean, we've used a lot of terms. We've used VA, which is virtual assistant. We've talked about transaction coordinator. You talk about admin. There's a lot of different things in there, and some people have multiple people on their team doing different things. Obviously, you're saying that you can do a lot. So tell the listeners on like what are you capable of doing, and kind of explain the different parts of it.
Sure. So basically, we are capable of doing all of it.
Right.
It may not be myself personally who's working on it. Again, strengths and weaknesses. If you're working on a postcard mailing, growing the business, I'm not working on the postcard. Marketing is not my forte.
You're not a graphic designer?
I'm not. No. I can come up with fun taglines. when the mood strikes or when the muse strikes. But I actually work with a published author. She writes all of the copy. She has a marketing background. She designs all of the postcards, does the layout for the magazines, the flyers. She's phenomenal. Doesn't want to be in real estate. Real estate is not her passion.
All right.
But she ended up working in a real estate office and has her license. So she works for me on the side.
Perfect.
So that's, all of those words have individual definitions, but by definition, my company is virtually everything done virtually. We can literally do everything real estate related.
Now that scares some people when you say virtually, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're still here, you're sitting here in Naples, and you live down here and stuff like that. And I mean, you're in a lot of different states, so you can handle it. But do you do much in person ever, or where do you guys, how do you distinguish between the two?
Well, that's based on the need of the agent that we're supporting.
So if you needed to go open doors or do something like that, you're still capable of doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It will generally not be me who does that.
Right.
With exceptions. Obviously, multi-million-dollar sales, high-touch clientele, I will show up. But if I am not at my desk, answering my phone, responding to texts and emails, supporting the client, I'm not doing my job.
Correct.
So I have licensed agents who work for me, work with me, who will do that. They'll accompany showings, babysit inspections, whatever needs to be done in person, again, on behalf of the agent.
Makes sense. There's been so many times, I mean, you've come highly recommended in the Real Producers Network, right? With the top agents, you're working with a lot of top agents. And, over the last course of like 6 months, you've also been engaged in working with new top agents, and they speak super highly of you, right? And I think one of the things when I talk to the agents, they're kind of at that stage, right, in their business where they're like, don't know if I can really handle a full-blown employee. I don't know if I want an employee. I don't know if, the finances or the training or whatever it might be from a full staff member, but they need extra help.
Right.
Can you talk about that phase in their businesses? Obviously, you deal with this on a daily. Can you explain the benefits of hiring someone like yourself and why that's so critical at that stage in their business?
So when the agent reaches that stage in their business, they're usually doing too much to handle on their own, but not enough to pay somebody to help them. So I am a great bridge for that. We don't need any training. We're already licensed. We know how to use everything. And there's no contracts with me. I'm pay as you go. You pay me literally for the service that we're providing. When the transaction's over, that's it. You pay me. If you don't have any more business, you don't owe me anything. There's no monthly fee, nothing. So I like to
Can you elaborate on that? So obviously they're going to think, oh, I got to pay Wendy a salary or whatever, an hourly amount or anything. So you're saying none of that. It's very simple. Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I offer all of the assistance without the overhead. An agent wants to use our services for transaction management. They've got a buyer under contract. Maybe they've got too many and they need help. They give me the contract. I take us through to closing. Once the property is closed, I send them an invoice based on the plan that the agent chooses. All of the plans are on the website. It's either $400 for what I call right-hand service. I'm basically assisting the realtor. They remain the face, but I'm in the background making things happen. Now, a lot of times during the summer when the agents go on vacation, they like to take advantage of my gold plan, which is $750. Basically, it's them getting on a boat, to wherever, Fiji, plane, doesn't matter. I literally step right into their shoes. They're copied on everything so that they know what's going on. But I act as them through the transaction, right through to closing.
Love it. So obviously different stages, different things, and it's a fixed amount. So just so everyone,
flat rate.
Yeah, so everyone understands. So it can be handled for big transactions, smaller transactions, different things like that.
Yeah, it's literally you've got a $10 million deal, it's $400. You have a $400,000 deal, it's $400.
Yep. So love that. Well, I'd love to learn what Wendy does on a day-to-day basis, because, you know, a lot of people are busy. A lot of people are, you know, responsive and different things like that. You're on the max of both of those.
Yes.
You're very busy, but you're extremely responsive. And I admire that a lot. Most people lose the communication ability, and the response time goes down, you know, down the drain in a sense, once that busyness kind of kicks in. So tell us a little bit about your day-to-day and how you maintain such a responsive time.
So I prioritize. And a lot of times it's based on the need of the moment. If I've got a new home buyer who has a lot of questions about their contract, I'm going to hop on the phone and talk to them and walk them through everything. I've got a multi-million-dollar investor. This is his 5th purchase this year. He's going to wait until I'm done with that home buyer. That wait might be 5 minutes, it might be 15, but I always get back to everyone within the hour that they called. And because I am on the phone a lot, I do try to manage expectations up front. On my first interaction with the customer, generally by email, because I love a paper trail, I'll tell them, I'm on the phone a lot. You will get me immediately if you text or email. I do the same thing with the agents. You know, if you have an immediate lead, you're out showing property and you want to write an offer, don't send me an email. Text me. You know, I'll see it right away. I'll get on the offer. And I try to tell everyone that, you know, my goal is customer service. Obviously, I'm also working for the agent. So it's a fine line that I walk, but it's usually based on need. You know, someone said to me once, is anyone dead, dying, or bleeding? And I was always like, what does that mean? Well, if you have a transaction that's going down in flames, I'm going to devote all of my time to that transaction to make sure that everything gets taken care of, everybody is happy, and we're back on track. And then I'll go around to, you know, here's another copy of what I sent you 3 other times before,
Right.
You know, that type of thing.
That makes sense. So obviously your response time is very good. We've heard that from a lot of agents, and so kudos there. And then you're super busy, but you have to have a personal life.
Do I?
You have to have some balance, right? So how do you balance it? Because I know I deal with it. Realtors constantly deal with it. You know, clients never stop, right? And you're right there, and you're taking over their shoes, right? So is there a cutoff time that you stop it, or like, how do you kind of balance that?
Well, poorly.
Oh, so there's a flaw in Wendy.
Yeah,
We figured it out.
There is. You know, real estate is 7 days a week.
Right.
It's holidays, it's nights, it's weekends. The agent is still the agent. You know, this is their business. It's their livelihood. And I am an extension. I'm an admin, right? I work 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Those are my hours. Off hours during the week, a lot of times stuff goes on. People are getting off work. They go see property. They're writing an offer. A lot of times stuff goes sideways after hours. The husband gets home and talks to the wife, and she's got cold feet. Now, oh my gosh, what are we doing? So if paperwork needs to be done off hours, there's a rate that I charge. Now, if you're already under contract, there's no charge. My cutoff is generally 7 p.m. You know, I have a family now. I'm expecting my first child. Usually
I was going to say we had a guest appearance.
She's still on the inside.
But we do have a special guest appearance
yes.
in there. So, and her name is?
Her name's Jocelyn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
We're
August, right?
Due in August, the 20th. But, you know, there has to be a line drawn in the sand.
For sure.
Especially because, you know, I'm not making, you know, multi-millions of dollars like the agents that I'm supporting. I'm getting paid a flat rate.
Right.
You know, if somebody calls and says, I'll give you $500 if you do this right now, and it's 10:30 at night, you can bet I'm getting up.
10:30, you're on your laptop.
I'm usually in bed.
Right? You're going to be like, I'm working in bed.
So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it all depends. And a lot of times if I'm just sitting there watching television and somebody texts or emails, I'll respond. If I'm, you know, sick and I look at it and it's, can I put a picture of the pool as the first photo in MLS? I'm going to answer that in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
I do work on the weekend. During season, I'm 7 days a week.
Okay.
I work from 8 to 12 on Saturday and Sunday during season. Off season, Sunday is my only day off.
Okay.
9 times out of 10, I end up working on Sundays
Right.
anyway. But even then, Saturday afternoons, Sunday afternoons, there's open houses. People are doing things. And I get roped into offers, negotiations, things like that. It's the nature of the beast.
Right.
It's something that I struggle with. It's not something that's really easy to figure out. Everybody loves to say, get into real estate. You can manage your own schedule. No, you cannot. You are at the mercy of everyone you work for.
Mm-hmm. And there's no ever off time for real estate.
There isn't. And because I work for the agent and by extension their customer, the people I work for is sometimes quadrupled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So what do you do on your free time, Wendy? Tell us a little bit. You have obviously started a family.
I sleep a lot. I'm perpetually exhausted.
Yeah.
But everyone that I know who has children told me it's like this for the next 16 years. So
right.
I'm just
so you just kind of get
resigned to the fact that I'm just going to be tired.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time with my family. Mm-hmm. We try to do something together once a month. Last weekend was the seafood festival down the Everglades.
Yeah, did you go? Okay. Nice. Yeah.
We did. Yep. We spend time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's important, right? So I love it. Well, Wendy, unfortunately, time flies, right? Time flies when you're having fun. So we are wrapping it up here. We are actually out of time. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on here and explaining more of what you do and how you do it. I know there's a lot of questions always, so it's great to allow the listeners a little bit more insight.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast.
Well, you killed it. You crushed it. So you're a natural. So, I just want to say thank you. As always, the RP Experience is extremely thrilled to have everyone on here. We're here in Venture X in the podcast studio room. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you all.